Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel and today's video is about hype. And yeah, I'm gonna rag on GW for a bit for this video because it's kind of interesting how it's done and how Games Workshop fails at it so badly. See, they are good at creating hype, for a miniature or a book or whatever. They are good at creating it, building it and working on it. Yeah, not so much. They're not very good at that bit. If you've got a big special preview show showing off what's coming up, you would. GW seems to be the only company that releases some miniatures within 2 weeks of that preview. Like, look what we come in. It's spectacular. It's fantastic. Look, hype, 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 hype. Oh, it's out now. You know. And the thing is, we've seen this happen before and fail before. It's not just GW. Sega did this. Sega failed at hyping the Saturn is one of the biggest reasons it's failed. Because what happened, it was at E3 and they literally said it's on sale now. And every single shop who was to stock it had no idea of this. They suddenly got the stock come in and that was it. And the same thing happens. Like, as soon as you sell it, as soon as you've sort of announced it as this new big thing, people are like, well, why are we getting it so quickly? And they are still excited for previous things which they've been waiting for, and that hype for those previous things goes away as well because of this new thing. See, hype needs to be built. It needs to be layered upon layer upon layer. And like I said, Games Workshop fails at doing this. Even their Age of Sigmar articles lately have been blasé at best. They've been mediocre. They've not been really exciting. It's like, look at this new model you're going to get for Age of Sigmar. And it's like, okay, it looks pretty good. Can't complain. But then people remember things like stock issues. You know, the fact that you can't get things in the UK where Games Workshop is based on the day of release because it's going to be delayed because of stock, people are going to start thinking, well, okay, it's kind of cool, but am I even going to get it on time? Am I going to be able to order it and buy it? Is it going to come to me in a timely manner? It's going to be an issue for everyone. And then you've got scalpers because, of course, Games Workshop does every first box as a limited edition box, and people are going to think exactly the same. Is it going to be scalped on eBay almost a day it gets announced? Same thing has happened. Am I going to get it? And so much and so forth, I should say. People are going to start going, yeah, do you know what? I'm not even interested because I'm not going to get it. It's getting, it's being released too quickly. All of these issues come into play. See, most other companies and films and everything else build up hype in a big way. They know how to build it up. If we take Warcradle, which I've said is my favourite company, they are releasing Armoured Clash this year. And one way they built up hype was quite clever. They had a booth at, not Adepticon, it was a different one, where they had one of the models for Armoured Clash on the shelf behind them. So people were taking photos of them and not realising that this new model was, there to be shown. And then when it gets caught wind of this and people start seeing it, hey, what's that in the background? They're like, ooh, who knows? Maybe it's something we're going to show off later. And people are like, wait, what is it? And it gets people interested because this thing in the background is for a new game and they're excited for it to see what it is. And then a couple of weeks later, they show it off, and it's a fantastic looking model. It looks great, and again, this is the model you're seeing. This is what it looks like, and people are like, "Oh, this looks fantastic. This looks great." And then they drop little hints in boxes too, as in with Armoured Clash, like the new printout of the centres. You can now have the Armoured Clash in there, which again, people not expecting this suddenly see it, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. This is so cool. But, you're getting this first glimpse and you weren't even expecting it because it was part of the box set for a different game. And we've seen this work so many times. For those who remember old retro games, they used to come with 2 books. Some games came with 2 books. One was the instruction manual, which was always cool. And the other was like a little booklet of games yet to come out, or games that were out. And so you get your instruction book, you read through that in the car, and then you look at all these brand new games coming out from the publisher or the developer, and you'd be like, wow, this is really cool. I'm really looking excited. I'm really getting excited for this. I'm looking forward to this. And that was just one of the best parts. And we see this with like Warcradle, Mantic, Warlord games. They drip feed you little things that get you excited. Like with Warlord games, I should say. I said Warcradle twice, I do apologise. But we now know there's a new Conflict 47 coming out. And we know it's going to be written by Andy Chambers. These are two exciting things. We don't know much about it, but what we do know is kind of exciting. And when we learn more about Conflict 47, the new edition, it's going to be even better. And these sort of things where you just sort of show off what's coming up and not have these interviews which are completely one-sided and how they tell us how they were so into the game when they were kids or stuff like this, and actually focus on the game itself. That's when stuff gets exciting. We're getting excited for the product, not the person making the product. Yes, I did say Andy Chambers is writing it, which has got me excited because he's a great rules writer. Same with Warpath. I'm excited about Warpath because Alessio Calvator's written that. So knowing that, and I've read the rules, there's another way that Mantic created hype for Warpath. They literally dropped the beta rules for the game and most of the factions on their Facebook page to download. It's like, hey, we're releasing Warpath. We're thinking of releasing Warpath. Here you go. Here's the rule set. Have a go. Play it yourself. Use bits of paper. All that stuff. And they were like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. And then they built hype even more by going and saying, look, we're going to release Warpath. We just don't know how we're going to release it, either via Kickstarter or straight on the shelves. So actually giving the community that sort of feeling that they're actually adding something to the community and to the game itself and how it's going to be, sold originally, was another good way of creating this hype around Warpath. And yeah, I'm still excited for Warpath. I just have a thing against going to Patreon, Kickstarter or Indiegogo or anything like that to purchase a product. It's just my sort of it's just me. That's subjective on my part, okay? And so people get excited, so they're part of building this game. They're practically part of its production, and it's exciting. And then you see like concept art getting dropped. See, concept art is always better into producing hype for anything than actually showing off what it is. If you show off the concept art like Warcradle does when they were releasing some of the Wildest Exodus stuff, they released the Martha concept art. People are like, oh wow, this looks really cool. How is she going to look as a model? Because it is just basically a plain figure in a basic pose, not the pose she's going to be. Like, people were getting excited about this. They were, imaginations were running fast, and they were constantly talked about her. People were getting excited about Martha Earp coming back. And then when they dropped her on an Iron Eagle, it got so much better. It got so much more fantastic. Because all of a sudden you got this box set of characters on bikes, and it's like, this is just amazing. And this is how you build hype. You drip feed what's coming. You don't tell straight away. You give little hints, and so people can speculate and let our imaginations run wild. If we have that in our head, having our imaginations run wild, what the model's going to look like, what the game's going to play, or we know how the game's going to go because we've played it, and we can, we played an early version of it. It's always the best way to go because people will. It creates conversation about said product, and if you release a picture of the product and then release it a couple of weeks later, there's no time to really see or feel what it's going to be like or get excited for it. You'll have the videos that come up and saying, "Oh, look, this model's really good," but as soon as that bit's done, the hype dies down straight away. You've got to keep the hype going throughout the video, throughout the timeline of start of production, as in pre-production stuff, concept art, designs, etc., to the end product and what the end user is going to get. And that's how you build hype. As I said, Games Workshop fails spectacularly at this all the time. They'll say, new edition coming out, here's some bits and pieces about it. And you're like, yeah, we knew what all this is coming. You're not really giving us anything to go on. And then, of course, they decided, nuke an entire army for this new edition. So people are like, wait, I've got to buy a new edition, a brand new army for this. Why would I want to do that? I want to use my old army. Where every other game's like, you can use your old miniatures, continue using your old miniatures and use your new miniatures. And stuff like that. And this is again, people getting excited. They go out and they start, painting up their models that they haven't painted up for this game, and they all go, right, now I have an army to start the game with, rather than saying, yeah, you don't have an army at all. But anyway, so that's just my video on hype and how Games Workshop fails at it. And what's your thoughts on this? As always, I do like to hear your comments down below, and you can speak freely as always. And I don't really rag on Games Workshop, but this was more me getting excited about Armored Clash coming out, Warpath coming out, Conflict 47 coming out. I'm getting excited for these games and how their hype is being built up and what I'm seeing, and how I'm more excited for that stuff, regardless of my bias towards Games Workshop or against Games Workshop, and how they fit together and how they build the hype, and I think it's fantastic. Anyway, as always, leave your comments down below. There is, of course, the link to Wayland Games. If you want to purchase anything from War Cradle, they're the best place to go. You get free delivery after £20. There's loads of Wild West extra stuff there, and I tell you what, I'm almost finished my Warrior Nation force now. I've got one posse and a Great Eagle to paint, and so that's almost finished, and I've almost finished my Halflings for Kings of War. Might work on some GW stuff afterwards because I've got plenty of that to paint. And then, oh no, I've got 2 posses. Sorry, I've got my Wrath of the Nautilus posse to actually paint as well. Anyway, I've started to ramble a little bit. Anyway, Wayland Games for up to 20% on most of your wargaming, and there is free delivery after £20. There's Forbidden Planet. If you like, geeky merchandise, TV, movies, comics, toys, plushies, actually buy comics and books and DVDs and all that cool stuff. That's down below as well. There is my merchandise for stickers, notebooks, T-shirts. What everyone else does with their own artwork. Same here. It's my artwork. There is also what else is there? My comics, yeah, they're both down below now. So there's an anthology one, which is the cheaper one of the two. There's also the main story, and that's down below as well. There is Skyforge. Don't forget Skyforge. Give a guy a click. Get him up in the algorithm for Google so his business can grow. And finally, Patreon, because business. Bye bye.